Hello, my crafty friend, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's little but packed full of goodness junk journal flip through video. I'm calling this little book All We Need Is Love, and it's based on a really cool synchronicity story that I'm going to get to in just a little moment, involving my new wonderful friend Tanya, whose channel is called My Jewelry Addiction. Tanya, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so very much for that amazing happy mail that you sent me. She blessed me with some of the most gorgeous fabrics I have ever seen, including this opulent gemstone encrusted, or rhinestone encrusted, I should say, trim that I've used as a pocket that wraps around the cover, as well as, I'm just going to pull it out here, this stunning beaded sort of feather motif, or almost an Arabic sort of a pattern, just really cool metallic beaded medallions, even this golden strip and this bit of green. So the whole cover is wrapped in fabrics from Tanya that are just so pretty. But anyway, I've decorated the corner with a detachable gold safety pin that I've suspended some really fun boho beads from the stationary side, not the opening side. So you can take this off and move it around and play with it and not worry about ever losing these charms. So one of them is a boho bead that I made using some really cool upcycled vintage glass beads that I found in a junk jewelry jar, as well as a really nicely sized piece, nice sized piece of amber that radiates a really nice warm crystal energy. By the way, if anyone is ever kind of skeptical about whether or not crystals and gems radiate an actual energy, I like to suggest an amber test. You put a little piece of amber on any surface, like a table, a book, whatever, and you hover your hand just about an inch above that amber. And for me anyway, for most people, if you have some crystal sensitivity, you'll feel an actual heat, like a solar energy heat radiating from the stone. Anyway, dangling from that amber, I've put a cute little enameled heart charm with a little faux diamond that was also from a junk jewelry jar, a strip of really cool beaded trim that was in the happy mailbox from Tanya. I pinned to that a sweet little evil eye protection talisman just to keep those negative thoughts at bay, return to sender any ill wishes. A gorgeous blue glass art bead with some blue fabric, lapis lazuli for intuition, and we all need a little bit of intuition when it comes to love, don't we? And then last but not least, a really cute little heart and faux pearl charm, and I've attached those to the safety pin using the tiniest little clasp I could find, and that way you can have it with or without the heart. And the reason I've done that is that I wanted this book to have a sort of a Valentine's-y vibe to it for those who are interested in manifesting love or radiating love or declaring love or having anything to do with love. But for those who are not so into love, if somebody wants to buy this journal but doesn't want such an over-the-top, in-your-face, pink, red, and white Valentine theme, I've kept it quite subtle. And I think you'll see what I mean as we go through. Anyway, inside this pocket, I have put a beautiful copy that I made of a lithograph from the 1800s about Buddhist sacred ritual objects. And so, pardon the glare, I keep trying to just kind of adjust my curtain here. I like to film by natural daylight, but of course sometimes that means unpredictable levels of lighting, so please bear with me. I hope it's still watchable. Anyway, I made a print of an antique lithograph about Buddhist sacred ritual objects, printed it on some really nice linen paper, and so it gets kind of that canvasy sort of a texture. Distress the back with some water droplets. That's why the ink is kind of smearing through, and some distress ink around the edges to make it look properly antiqued. But then for the finishing touch, I went in with a little bit of metallic watercolor paint and just highlighted all the different shades of gold in that Buddha face. And so I feel like even if this is the only thing in the pocket of this journal decorating the front, that's kind of a cool journal cover, right? So on top of the Buddha, I've placed a 1950 Austrian plumbing installation certificate. What a beautiful thing, hey? Just a receipt for having some plumbing pipes installed from 1950 in Austria. And I think it just looks beautifully aged, yellowed with perfection, or yellowed to perfection. And then on top of that, I did just a cute little textile cluster, a piece of fun floral drippy trim that I bought myself when I started journaling, and a snippet of some beautiful embroidered beaded trim from Tanya. And I held those together with a cool clip-on earring that I found. It's definitely vintage. It's not signed. I don't know what year it's from. I would guess 1950s, but I'm no expert. I just think the little cute crystals with all the different colors in them and all the pastel shades are too cute to resist. And so that kind of holds that all together. Adorning the closure, I've put a really pretty pinwheel brooch that can be taken off and worn as a piece of jewelry. And just for fun, the back has a strap that you could use to tuck something into. What do I have handy here? I've got some old book pages. So say, for example, you want to carry some old book pages with you. You could tuck them in, fold them over. In fact, gift with purchase. Some old book pages. So there you go. But it can also be used kind of for fun, like a handle when you're holding your book and reading and flipping through. Anyway, I like doing fun new little silly things to make the journals interesting. There we have our little love charm. All we need. Okay. Almost 8 minutes in and I'm finally opening the book, right? So I just love this spread. It makes me so happy. I think I've said this in videos before, but there's nothing more fulfilling as an artist than making something and then looking at it and just loving it. And that's the vibe I get from this book. I really do love it. And it's such a blessing to do what I love. I hope you love it too. I hope it makes you as happy to see as I feel. Anyway, I have lined the inside of the front of the cover of this book with this beautiful hand-stamped khadi paper from India. That was out of the collection of my dear friend Kat Stone. So thank you, Kat, for all the goodies. I made a pocket out of yet another beautiful embroidered sari fabric from Tanya. And then decorated the side with a very, very pretty little turquoise kind of crochet trim flower. It's really neat. It's 3D. And that was in a recent happy mail from my friend May. So thank you, May, for always spoiling me with such beautiful things. I put a cute little enameled yellow flower in the center of this turquoise flower. And that way we have all these colors kind of mirrored from one side of the page to the other. The yellow, the pink, the turquoise, the yellowish gold, pink, and turquoise. And so in the pocket, I've put one of my favorite things to put in journals. And that is a Kitsungi-inspired journaling card. So Kitsungi is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with pure gold. And symbolically, it represents that beauty comes not from perfection, but from earned purification, or I guess you could say like an earned uniqueness. That the things that we might think of as our flaws might also be those bits of gold that gleam through from what otherwise would have been ordinary pottery. And so gold is so much more pure and so much more perfect than breakable pottery. And so when you take something broken and repair it with something even better than it was originally, that just shows that alchemy process of turning something that otherwise might have been discarded into something absolutely worth more than the sum of its parts, just perfected and beautified through its trials and tribulations. And so keeping these in journals is a great reminder of the fact that any struggle or hardship we've gone through in life has alchemically turned us into living sort of kitsungis, all the little cracks that we've plastered in on ourselves. If we think of it as filling them in with gold, because we'll never make the same mistake twice, or, once we learn to do something well, we'll always be able to do it. That's kind of like filling in our cracks with gold. And in a way, I think of junk journals as being sort of an alchemy of taking old things like torn fabrics and cut up pieces of what once were beautiful clothing and turning them into brand new beautiful objects. Old book pages, old receipts, old papers from the 60s, the 80s, the, Victorian era. Anyway, I don't need to sell you on it. You're here, you're watching, you get it, right? This fun little thing is a Japanese money turtle. It's believed to bring abundance and good fortune and wealth to keep one of those in your wallet or in your purse, or in this case, in your little journal. The first page is just a stunning illustration that I took out of a 10-cent damaged book that I found in the kids section of a thrift shop. I think it's just so pretty the way the queen is blessing this man here. I've safety pinned to it just a fun little assortment of fabric strips inspired by my friend May, and a really cool tassel that she put on a book for me out of fabric strips. On the next page, we see a giant marching forward. You'll see him again at the end of the book. And using some really cool vintage lace. I bought this at an antique store, but sadly I don't know exactly which year it's from. I just know it was marked vintage. And in there I put just a fun looking little wine bottle label. And since the cute little characters preparing that wine reminded me a little of cherubs. See, so it's slightly Valentine-y, but not over the top. And then this pretty distressed piece of paper that has a junk jewelry jar metal ribbon on it is a reprint of an old lithograph, another antique lithograph from my personal collection that I printed once again on that linen paper. And then this time I highlighted in gold this interesting tile that was like a Valentine, a Byzantine mosaic pattern block used in this, example of ornaments that was published in the 1800s. And I thought it was so interesting to see that the hearts, like beautiful, happy little hearts, are right there next to a swastika. And this swastika looks particularly triggering because it's oriented on an angle and aimed clockwise, which looks very, very strikingly like the symbol of hate when the Nazis stole the sacred swastika symbol and used it for their own malevolent purposes. But in the pre-Nazi era, swastikas were used as a symbol of peace, love, prosperity, good fortune, and the sun. It represents the solar disk, or Surya, in some parts of India. It represents Lord Ganesha, the remover of obstacles. When I was in the ancient city of Varanasi in India, I noticed there were swastikas with elephant trunks carved into them, and beautiful stylized elephant faces coming out of them, with the swastika sides being kind of the ear points above almost every door in the most ancient part of the city. And our tour guide explained that those doors are quite low And so by placing a Ganesha, symbolized by a swastika above each doorstep, everyone was forced to bow to Ganesha every day. And so whether they meant to or not, they were, you know, drawing on his blessings, calling on his blessings by bowing to him, just simply because you have to stoop to walk under those door frames. Anyway, I'm quite passionate about the fact that we should not relegate that symbol into an evil role for all future history, just because it was stolen by very, very evil people for very hateful reasons. But it still belongs to those who practice the sacred traditions of the East. So Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, Sikhism. And recently in one of Tanya's videos, she shared a jewelry find that she had made of some really cool Native American silver work with swastikas sculpted into it, maybe cast into it. I'm not sure the production method, but swastikas decorating it. And she explained that in that tribe, and I'm so sorry, I should have written this down, so I don't remember whether it was Pueblo or Zuni, but, you know, one of the jewelry making known connected to the star beings tribes. That symbol represented the movement into the four directions of the original peoples. And it's just such a cool thing to know that it's been considered sacred all over the world up until its abrupt annexation from all of our hearts collectively in the 1930s, when it became emblematic of dictatorial, world domination, genocidal terror, essentially. So I feel like when I come across swastikas like that one, like this, when I found this antique lithograph, and originally I thought I'll never be able to show this one publicly because people might not get it, I'm now starting to think maybe I should. I mean, if you're one of my regular viewers, you know I've talked about this before. But yeah, maybe I should keep doing that. Anyway, pretty little heart on this piece of wallpaper. Behind it, a print that I made onto another piece of that cool linen paper from a 1928 Sears wallpaper sample book, just kind of instructing you how to hang wallpaper the old-fashioned way. And I think it's kind of funny looking back that this book was from 1928. So what did they call old-fashioned in 1928? So what was that, like the 1800s way? We may never know. On the other side, I used a piece of this cool Japanese fabric that Kat Stone gave me to create a fabric flip. I chose this piece because it has a pretty dragon on it. And of course, we are in the year of the dragon, 2024. And so I wrote down the name of this little book, All You Need Is Love, made in the year of the dragon, hence this little flip, 2024. And I included a really pretty pink and blue flower piece of that original Sears wallpaper sample from 1924. I guess I put it upside down, but I kind of like the way it looks better that way. Let's see. And I stuck this little label onto it after reading a note from my dear friend May from Saudi Arabia. She said that she had a wish that junk journal artists will start putting the dates on the old paper that they use in their journals so that whoever buys them will have that archive and will have that little reference note. And I thought that's easy enough. I should start doing that. So wherever I've used paper of known date, I've labeled it like this with little tiny snippets of painter's tape that I've hand cut to be small enough that they look cute with the paper. And I chose painter's tape because it doesn't cause any damage. This very, very pretty aqua and gold, or flip it over, gold and aqua paper, fabric, was also in that recent Happy Mail from May. And under it, I put a page out of a cool accounting manual, or like a Canadian accounting textbook that I found at a really cool kind of rummage sale thrift slash antique. And it was a book from 1937. Again, kind of funny, kind of ironic that it's called Modern Accounting. So from this star paper clip, I've hung a little cute filigree heart charm and a little word charm that says love on it. And I bought a little pack of these for 25 cents maybe 2 weeks ago at a thrift shop and thought, you know, one day I might use these in a journal. Let's just pick them up and have them. I tend to buy little supplies like that when I come across them and think that I might be able to use them somehow. So anyway, I set them aside and kind of forgot about them. And then on Wednesday, I received a package from my friend May. And on Valentine's Day, I will publish a flip through of the beautiful swap journal that she gifted me. But right now I have to tell you a synchronicity story. So if you are one of those viewers who gets bored easily and doesn't want to hear me talk, just skip ahead a few minutes. I'll get back to the flip through. But if you like synchronicity stories and hearing about cool things that happen that kind of prove to us that there is some sort of divine intelligence, whether you like to call that God or existence or the universe, or if you have an Ishta Devata like Shiva or Kali or Saraswati or Ganesha, to whoever you'd like to attribute it, I believe synchronicities are signs to us from the higher existence, from the love and light dimensions, from God, to let us know that we are in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. And to me, that's what a synchronicity is, right? So anyway, the synchronicity I would like to share with you, one of the gifts in that package from my friend May was a beautiful, really delicate gold necklace that says the word love. And for the letter O, it actually held a really, really pretty little ruby. And it's the only ruby that I have right now that I wear as jewelry. I had some ruby beads, but I hadn't really made them into anything for myself. So whenever I receive a new gemstone or a new crystal, I really can't resist looking up the energetic properties. So I already knew ruby is a stone for the root chakra. It's believed to be grounding and revitalizing to us as far as our physical health, endurance, stability, practical aspects of life are concerned. But I was curious, what else is ruby for? So while looking up ruby in the Book of Stones, I decided to wear that ruby necklace. And it's a day that I was staying home, not going anywhere, not going to do anything. So I don't wear jewelry if I'm staying home having a crafty day, because jewelry gets in the way of crafting, right? So the only thing I was wearing was the love necklace. And as I put it on, I thought to myself, all I need is love. It's the only piece of jewelry I need today, right? Love is all I need. So I put on my love necklace, went to my couch, sat down, started reading about ruby in the Book of Stones, because ruby is the stone in the love necklace. And in the background, I was listening to one of Tanya's videos. I think it was her most recent video. And I'm half listening to her video, half reading my book. I was reading in the book a sentence that said, when you wear or carry ruby, it's like you send out a beacon so that the angels of synchronicity have an easier time finding you. And I made a mental note, like, oh, how cool is that? Like, ruby makes it easier for the angels of synchronicity to find us. The very moment that I read that sentence, Tanya starts loudly singing, what do we need? All you need is love. And she started singing the Beatles song, and I'm not going to torture you by singing. So watch her video if you want to hear it. But I looked up because whoa, holy shoot. And I didn't say shoot, holy, you know what? I was just singing that song earlier when I put on this necklace, and this is a synchronicity. And I looked up to see Tanya pointing to the word love that was embroidered into her shirt. And she said that she hadn't really been resonating with the frequency of love up until that day when she wore that shirt. And I laughed and laughed because when I received my necklace from May, I thought, you know, up until maybe this year, I don't think I would have wanted to wear something that says love because I don't think I was resonating with the feeling of love. But now I'm in love, and I don't talk about it much in these videos, but it really is a wonderful feeling. And so of all the times in my life to get a love necklace, now is the time. I really, really think it's awesome. And so hearing Tanya say that she's wearing the word love because now she's resonating with that vibe of love, I just thought that's so cool. And so, you know, I took a moment and said, thank you, angels of synchronicity. And that's when Tanya held up 2 angels to her camera. And not these angels, I'm just showing you angels for the fun of the story. But anyway, so I knew that's a synchronicity. Like, not only does she say all you need is love, but also she has these angels of synchronicity. And so I am now a firm believer that ruby really is a magical gem, as they all are. But what more do you want than like a cool synchronicity right when you're reading that it's the gem of synchronicities? And so of course I had to give the gift of a ruby to whoever buys this book, the journal I was working on at the time of that synchronous experience. So the bead on the bottom here, see, of course now the sun's behind a cloud, so I need to kind of open these curtains again. The bead on the bottom here is ruby in kyanite. So it's like 2 crystals in one. You have the kyanite base and then not a gem grade, but like a raw ruby grade inclusion within it. So you get the benefits of ruby, you know, hooking you up with those angels of synchronicity, as well as the intuitive, kind of psychic power stimulating energy of kyanite. And then on top of that bead, I've put a rose quartz just because it is the gem for love and radiating love and manifesting love. Speaking of love, I love this paper that these things are pinned to. This is one of the beautiful, artful coffee dyed papers made by May. Even the paper clip I used, I tried to pick something beautiful and symbolic. So it's a star. The other side is a moon. And on the moon side, I've pinned in a sticker that I made of just one of my all-time favorite art prints. It's a very distressed sticker. You can see it's been scratched up. And I think that kind of gives it an almost antique vibe, which is kind of cool. Not something you typically see in such a shiny paper. This is a French page out of a French book that would have been like an actor's copy of a play script. I don't know the year, that's why it doesn't have a little sticky note. The ruby pendant, I included a card that I found among ephemera from Cat Stone that says, a sacred token to and from. And so instead of leaving it blank, I've written to you, meaning, of course, whoever buys the journal, but it can also mean you who are watching this. I think everything happens for a reason, so if you're seeing it, it's for a reason. So the gift of the ruby to you from the angels of synchronicity, who it's believed to call in. That was pinned to a little illustration out of a kid's book from the 1950s, showing a little girl in the kitchen with her mom baking cookies. That also says love, doesn't it? And love, of course, is not just the romantic love between 2 people. It's also the love between family members, the love between friends, the love between us and our animal companions. These cool pages I found at a local antique shop. I don't know the dates, but they are so old that the phone numbers listed only have 4 digits. Phone 7611. So however long ago Victoria, BC still had 4-digit phone numbers. That's how old those pages are. I wanted them kind of sewn in so that they look tucked in on an angle, and I kind of like how that looks. Got that idea watching a video by Pam, whose channel is called Glam Junk Journals. Anyway, This is an instruction page from a 1960s book about typewriting. And into that, I tucked in just a little staple-bound miniature replica that I made of a book of Kuan Yin pilgrimage sites from Japan from the late Edo period. So all 7 of the Kuan Yins from that book are reproduced on a miniature scale in here. And then you can see a little bit of the brush script that described the pilgrimage temple sites. Super cute. That is a printable kit in my Etsy shop. It's called Kuan Yin Mini Book, so you can get the kit and print out as many copies as you like. This is also a page from one of my printable kits. It's from the Magic Carpet Digi Kit. It's an Arabian Nights inspired, beautiful antique copy of a page from an Arabian book. On the other side, there's a wallpaper sample page from yet another of my printable kits, the 1928 wallpaper book kit. And of course, I put a love stamp in it because we want some hearts. We'll keep it subtle, but there will be some hearts when we make a book a few days before Valentine's Day. There will be hearts, but there will also be ancient symbols and cultural things because that's what I'm into. It's kind of a book filled with things I love, and I hope you love them too. I'm sure whoever buys this book will love them too, right? That's how synchronicity works, isn't it? So we have the god Thoth, or Thoth, depending on how you like to pronounce it. Potato, potato, solder, solder, Thoth, Thoth. Anyway, this cool one, I don't know which Egyptian deity he or she is, but the crocodile face with the pharaonic headdress and the cheetah spots and kind of the hippo hindquarters. If you know, let me know. Kind of a wild patchwork quilt of a being, if you ask me. And the hieroglyphs always look so cool. So, of course, this was tucked into a pocket that I made out of a 1960s ledger page. And I just attached some really pretty pink and cream embroidered flowers to it. This was from the Happy Mail from my friend Kimberly. Hi, Kimberly. Kimberly has called dibs on my next custom journal, by the way. I have been so busy making custom journals for the past few months. And yeah, the next one will be hers. So I won't be accepting any other custom order requests for a while, just FYI. You know, nobody asked, but in case anybody's been wondering. This is a page out of a 1960s lapidary or lapidary journal. Another one of those words. How do you say it? I thought I was good with my pronunciations, my friend, until I found out that what I've always called chalcedony is actually supposed to be called chalcedony, and now I don't know what to call nothing no more. Anyway, really cool 1960s lapidary, that's how I'll say it because that's how I like to say it, journal, with basically my Christmas wish list, getting distracted. Christmas, moonstone, tiger's eye, rhodochrosite scarabs, how cool would those be? Those Egyptian revival 1960s rhodochrosite scarabs, they were only $2.50 each back then. Aquamarine and turquoise. Anyway, I labeled it 1960s. Another beautiful piece from Kimberly's Happy Mail. There were a few full medallions of this, and there was this one that was kind of cut through, and that made it perfect scale for this book. This music paper, 1981. I don't think that's old enough to deserve a date label yet, but you know what? 100 years from now, people might be happy to know. If this book gets passed down and cherished and kept nicely, wouldn't that be cool? This is an actual used postage stamp from the Republic of Guinea. I've kind of decorated it with a little border I cut out of some fabric from Tanya. And just a pretty pink stamp that shows a woman standing kind of at a beautiful book stand or a lectern, reading what looks like a really cool old sacred book, holding a telephone off the wall by the looks of it. Don't really know what's going on, but it sure looks cool, and it goes with the color of pink in the fabric, so I used it. 2 tickets, maybe to paradise, don't know where. 2 tickets to Colombo Fort, Sri Lanka, and just because they are super cool. A page of unknown date out of a discarded children's illustrated book from a thrift store. I love the turquoise ring she's wearing and her big gold hoops and her headdress. Kat, if you're watching, oh, I know you'd love her too. Don't worry, I've got more pictures of her. Look at the way she's coyly looking at him as they're dancing. It was only after I sewed this into the book that I noticed the beautiful white peacock at the foot of the prince. If I had seen that before, I would have set this aside to go into my friend May's next journal. But maybe we'll spread the love, spread the peacocks. Doesn't she look a little bit like Cardi B? Just me? I don't know. This book is out of a geology book from unknown date, but I would guess 50s or 60s. This is just a print I made on paper because I felt like putting a tiny little thing in here with a little scene from an Arabian street. This is from a copy of A Tale of Two Cities that I found at a thrift shop. I didn't mean to use 2 pages, but that's how it happened. I don't know what the pages say, so don't read too much into it. I didn't put any date labels because I can't read the date on the cover of this book. So it's 19 something. It's old. I don't know how old. And I couldn't find a date anywhere in here because it was already missing some pages. You know what? Maybe the date is on this page and it's pasted down. You know what? I'm not going to rip it right now because if I do, I will ruin this. But what I'm going to do, I didn't know that was there before. I'm going to soak this in some warm water off camera. I'm not going to stop everything and soak it now. But I'll see if I can separate those 2 pages. And if I can, we might know from what year this comes. It was already missing a huge stack of pages from the back, so it wouldn't have been worth anything, even if I hadn't ripped these out. They're just cool to have. Anyway, modern wallpaper sample with a really cool leopard and some beautiful jungle foliage. I had already put this in place. I took out my vintage illustrated dictionary. Couldn't find a date in that either, but took out this beautiful yellowed old dictionary. And I just asked existence, let me open it to the right page to include in the journal. And it was the page with an illustration of a puma. So if you love big cats, maybe this should be a self-love gift to self, right? Or if you love pugilism, which I think has something to do with punching the crap out of each other. Let's forget that and stick with the puma, right? We'll stick with the spirit animal, not with the violence. This really fun thing is just some kind of like crepe paper ribbon that I found thrifting. It's vintage, but it didn't have a date on it. It was just kind of wrapped in clear plastic. I just think it's beautiful. And as a vegan, I love putting symbols of vegetables on everything because they like to say that we always tell people we're vegan. Not really. I just think they're fun. This is also vintage paper. I don't know what year it's from, but it comes out of this cute little notebook that I found for $9. Maybe I overpaid, but I thought it was beautiful. It's got a cool texture to it. The page edges are red. It's old. And I do love using genuine old papers in these books. Just a pretty little stamp just because I love that color. Kind of an aqua green. And then behind it, there's a little corner of some paper that Kat Stone has painted in some stunning shades of blue and purple with a gold border. And whenever I see blue, purple, and aqua, I think of mermaid colors, so I couldn't really resist putting that little cluster together. Anyway, this page is an original rice paper woodblock print page from that Kuan Yin pilgrim text from the late Edo period from Japan. So I don't know the exact date of the book, but the late Edo period roughly coincides with what we would call the late Victorian era, so late 1800s. This fabric flip, just for fun, shows the back of a kid's book, and this would make a great base for a collage. You could stick some photos here, do a drawing, do a painting, do your thing if you buy this journal. I don't ever sell or give these journals thinking whoever gets it should preserve it forever as a monument to the way I made it. So if you want to take things out, add pages in, paint over, glue over, collage over, swap out, get rid of this, put something else in that pocket instead, feel free to do so. They should be living works of art, not finished, complete things that you're not allowed to touch. And that's how I feel about them anyway. This beautiful woman in her stunning romantic attire with the cute little dog on a leash. Oh my goodness. Kat Stone painted this. No surprise. She makes the most gorgeous paper dolls ever created. She's such a talented fashion designer and artist, and I'm so lucky to call her a friend. And she has given me so many beautiful gift packages with prints of her art that I absolutely, I'll have inspiration for journals to last a lifetime. And I think it's fun to try to include one in every journal I make now, one example of her art, just so that it's out there where it can be appreciated instead of just hoarded by me, as much as I'd love to keep all of it. Anyway, this beautiful woman walking her most gorgeous, beautiful, curious dog who looks almost like a kitty, and that's my kind of dog. Super cute. Little French postage stamp just because her outfit struck me as French. And then in here, I put the other thing I like to include in every single journal. Bluebird of happiness, or in this case, bluebirds, plural, of happiness. These are stickers that I printed right when my printer was out of ink, and that's why they're all different colors. Some are more pink, some are more yellow, some are more blue, and I couldn't decide which one I liked the best, so I put all of them in, and then I dropped some water splotches on a few of them just to give them that old hazy, blurred look. This one you can see the moment when the printer ran out of whatever color that was. And they turned into these. Anyway, super fun. I guess there are 3 things I like to include in every single journal. A bluebird of happiness, a piece of Kat Stone's art, and at least one genuine gemstone or crystal to get that crystal energy out there. This is a cool craft book from the 1960s. Just a pretty embroidered flower. Another gift from Kat. Pretty New Zealand stamp. And because we're going with pink and blue for this book, I've found, out of my personal collection, it's almost hard to part with these, but it's easier to part with them knowing that whoever gets them is so lucky and is going to know how lucky they are, hopefully, and love them. One has these stunning embossed pink flowers. When I showed this book to my boyfriend before filming, he actually kind of felt it like this, with that look on his face, like, are you sure you want to give the originals and not just make prints? But I'm an artist, not a hoarder, so I will use the stuff that I buy to make into journals. Yeah, aren't they just pretty? The Music Man, A. Sauer, 24 South Detroit Street, Xenia, Ohio. Xenia or Xenia, this is the book full of words I don't know how to pronounce. Xenia. Xenia sounds right. Never heard of it, but doesn't that sound like a cool place? Off to see the Music Man in Xenia. Gem setting. Stunning ring. Maybe a little high off the finger for me. I love this one because the gem is practically touching my finger. It's not an engagement ring, by the way. I just put it there because the ring I'm giving as the gift with purchase of this journal is this one. And it fit my right hand ring finger, and I just love wearing my blue topaz. It's kind of my over-the-top blingy birthstone gift to self. Wish it was an aquamarine. Even though that's not my birthstone, wouldn't that be magnificent? This is just a printed page. Oh, another printed page. This is the decorative strips page out of my Arabian Nights journal. And we're finally at the center where this man is cleaning his giant chessboard of a floor. And the centerfold is just this beautiful woman with such a cool outfit. Her headdress that seems to have a giant ruby, so she must just be like an antenna for synchronicities with that ruby headdress. Look at the beautiful old sort of Persian or Indian Taj Mahal-esque Arabian wonder of a castle. She's just gorgeous. So the beads hanging from the center dangle, I overdid it on the gemstone energy, didn't I? We've got lapis lazuli, amber, ruby. Here we have fluorite for wisdom, and a natural included quartz. So these blue kind of teal splotches are natural inclusions. Not sure which trace minerals created that, but it sure is beautiful. And then these are just crystal out of junk jewelry jars, a little charm with a faux pearl. But this one is Peruvian pink opal, another very strong love talisman kind of a stone. And then we've just got the other sides of a lot of these pages. The second half of the book is kind of just all about the paper. I've left it so that you can see the designs on it, see the notes, see the words, see the illustrations. But whoever gets this can either keep it as it is or use them as places to draw, write, paint, collage. This would be a fun place to stick little collected whatevers. Love this wallpaper. I used this as the lining paper in the journal I made for Cat Stone, and it's one of my favorites. Pumps. I like that kind better than that kind, have to say. Not to wear, just to look at. They're so uncomfortable. The other half of this cool little Arabian market illustration. I just love the way it looks to have multiple pages kind of laid over top of each other. There's just something about it, isn't there? Seeing all these papers. This was why I chose this image. I love the detail on her sleeve here. Reminded me of one of the trims my friend Kimberly gave me there. Just shape-wise, I had to use it. And I love how the baby's cradle looks like a water wave kind of cresting over his head. So cute. This might be my favorite. And the flip out that I love to do in almost all my journals when I can remember to. Showing some textile samples. Nothing like textile samples. You know, for somebody who doesn't really sew clothing, I sure do own lots of fabrics. And don't they look beautiful, just pinned like specimens to ledger paper from the 1960s. Look, we've got the dates written right on it. And so yeah, these two were from Tanya. Oh, actually, all four of these were from Tanya. This is the same one I used on the cover, but I had to also include a sample because the back is just as beautiful as the front. Isn't that pretty? Oh, just love it. And then this was from my own collection. This was a vintage sari fabric with these cool rhinestones. Anyway, I love the writing on the old ledger, the perfect penmanship of days gone by before everything was computer. And by folding the paper up, I created a pocket, put just a pretty Valentine pink strip of sequin trim. And then it can't be a journal about love without a kitty cat. Isn't it nice that there's a kitty cat and a puppy dog? You know, I just realized that. Perfect for all of us animal lovers. My new best friend, who I've never even spoken to or emailed or talked to, Jason, through whom I found Tanya. Whenever I see puppy dogs, I think of him. My favorite people are animal-loving people, right? Animals over people, but people who love animals over all the others. Anyway, cute little puppy. So yeah, there's a dog there and a cat here, and those are, to me, what love is all about. And all animals. Those are the ones that we have in our homes in this particular era, but I would welcome them all in if I had a place big enough to. Would look like the Ark over here. Anyway, in a way that they could all be safe and taken care of and loving. Anyway, this little tuck spot is created with a little snippet of flowers and a 1964 French fairy tale castle stamp that I think is just so cool. And what they hold are an illustration by Cat Stone that I feel shows the oneness between all beings. Look at that beautiful eye of the horse. The decoration the horse is wearing looks almost like dragonflies or something. And the way his eye and the woman's eye peeking out from behind kind of seem to blend into one being. Isn't that the ultimate experience of love, where you lose that border between yourself and others and we all feel connected? Stunning illustration by Cat. And then on this side of the page, another illustration by Cat. Because Paris is known as the city of love, isn't it? We have this Eiffel Tower, Paris, and beautiful illustration Cat did of this woman, and such a stunning, that's a Valentine's Day outfit, if I've ever seen one. And then behind her, I stuck a little collection, and by stuck, I mean that literally stuck. Oh, the pin went through them. That's why. Well, don't worry, there's more. A little collection of sticky notes from May that have kind of a Paris theme and a France theme. Ooh la la, Paris. Got a little smudgy thing there. Eiffel Tower. Anyway, it's so funny how gifts we receive and things that we want to put into our journals tend to create a theme all on their own by all sort of matching, right? The hearts from May, the Parisian red dress, Marilyn Monroe looking beauty from Cat. These are real dried pressed flowers that I glued down, and I collaged them with this beautiful piece of paper. Very, very fragile. Pardon my camera going out of focus. I do not recommend you take this out from under the flowers. I would leave it exactly as it is so as not to break the leaves or the petals or anything. And to kind of keep the aesthetic the way I wanted it, instead of putting a little label with green painter's tape, I just wrote directly onto the ledger that this is a snippet from a French legal document. It's genuine. That's the real thing. This little piece of paper had these words calligraphed onto it, or calligraphed onto it. Another word I don't know how to say. Calligraphed. It had these words written onto it in the 1600s. I debated whether to write 17th century or 1600s, and I figured it's less pretentious and more obvious to just write 1600s. That's how I'd say it, so that's how I wrote it. Really cool. The thing about having these really, really, really old antique bits of paper in our journals like this is that it gives them a new life, and it helps us connect to people from centuries ago who did essentially the same thing we do now. Write on paper and keep track of stuff. The other side of that Sears paper with just a really beautiful snippet of orange and pink embroidery from Cat. But anyway, I'm so glad other history nerds have discovered my YouTube channel and found my love for old and cool papers. These couples at a dance. This came out of my Victorian scrapbook. It was tucked in between the pages, not glued down. I have no idea what year it's from. Again, I couldn't really find a date, but I like the back almost as much as I like the picture of silhouettes that whoever had saved it had meant to save. Really fun black and white illustrations, aren't they? So that just sits in here along with a sticker of Paris framed by a heart. This was among one of Kat's happy mails. So yeah, now we've got just the other sides of these papers. More of these sticky notes. That's why I wasn't too concerned. I said, don't worry, there's more. Here they are. Tucked into this pretty trim with these beautiful, they're like pink and blue hearts with like that purple and yellow flower petal tip. This is super cute. This little cluster uses a stunning butterfly card that Kat has kind of painted over with some glitter, and a beautiful aqua butterfly stamp with just the colors matched is what I'm trying to say. When I found this stamp and this little snippet, I knew I had to use them together somewhere because they're just absolutely pretty. I'm gonna try to get more light. Again, I'm sorry about the light today. I'm never sure whether, you know, to wait till later to film a video or to do it earlier. I don't want to lose the light, but anyway, I think we're good. So yeah, before I glued these down, I just kind of took some turquoise paint on my fingertips and went around the edges to make them kind of bordered. And I've done that with a lot of things with gold, but I think it looks even, maybe not cooler, but it looks as cool to use one of the colors that's in the page that's being framed, paint framed. This was also from Kat. I just love it. We're near the end. Remember I said at the very beginning we would see that giant again? There he is, trying to get away with the kids, but don't worry, they get away from him. And that brings us at last to the very end. So the last page, you see it accented with that same really pretty cotty paper. Just some snippets of fun textiles, that beautiful beaded pocket, a vibrant piece of sea India ephemera that I found among things from Kat Stone that I thought just aesthetically it goes with this journal so well. It's got that kind of boho vibe. It's got a lot of blue. And then one more Kitsungi vase because I just wouldn't feel right putting only one into a journal when they come as a pair. Let's see, you've got the pink bird in the front and the blue bird in the back. I hope this journal made you smile. So many of you have so sweetly told me in comments on previous videos that long videos are okay, you know, talk as much as I want. So that's what I've done this time. Apologies to those who prefer a shorter video, but this is kind of my comfort zone, isn't it? Happy Valentine's Day. That's coming up this Wednesday if you see this video on the day that I publish it. This will be available in my Etsy shop as of the time that I publish the video, but it's a one of a kind. I could never make another one like it, even if requested, because I used too many original things and too many fabrics that I only had little bits of. So if you're in love with it, I suggest not waiting too long. Not trying to put pressure, but just, you know, I see from time to time disappointed comments that they do sell pretty quickly. So yeah, anyway, I'll put the link to that in my video description. Thank you so much for watching. So much love to you. And on Wednesday, like I said, come back Wednesday, I will publish that very special flip through of the book made for me by my dear friend May. In the meantime, I do hope the angels of synchronicity find you, whether you wear rubies or not. Love you so much. Bye for now. Oh yeah, the ring. I always give a ring with every journal, just because I love journals and I love rings. And so what better declaration of love or symbol of love is there than a diamond ring? This one, of course, is not real. If it were, this book would be, I don't know, what, $100,000? I don't buy I don't have the money to even think of buying these things, so I don't know. But it sure is pretty. Maybe that's outrageous. Maybe 10,000? Who knows? Whatever the case, if I could, I would give you all diamonds. And so symbolically, there they are. I'm tied to the edge of this book. And if you get this book, whenever you see that ring, just remember that you are loved. And even if you don't buy this book, remember that you're loved. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.